Okay. I'd like to touch on a couple things this morning just before we get into the Word. First, let's greet everyone is anyone joining us by live streaming this morning? Yeah, let's greet everyone who's joining us by live streaming this morning. Welcome. Amen. It's a very different kind of day. We understand that. Let me first want to congratulate two young people that have just gotten engaged. Isaiah Melendez and Jay Santiago. Stand up, guys. Two fine young people, excellent young people, and we wish them nothing but God's best. And we wish Mario lots of ability to sleep and relax, breathe. I know the routine. Breathe deeply. As you know, we have two baby granddaughters. I can't believe that Layla is already 3 months old, 12 weeks old, and Mia is, what is she, 8 weeks? What is it? 2 months. Yeah, 8 weeks today. So they're a handful, both of them. Matter of fact, they're two handfuls. Now, before the babies came, Christina and Amy got me a present in the form of a T-shirt. You know how every parent or grandparent or aunt or uncle, every family is unique in that you have to have a special name that your grandchildren might call you. And so mine that I chose was Papa, because that's what I called my grandfather. And so they got me a T-shirt, and they kind of shocked me with it, and I'm going to show you this T-shirt, all right? Oh, hey, don't show that. All right, here it is. Get a shot here. Got it up there? Yeah. Amen. So I am a myth and a legend. Oh, yeah, I'm a man first, somewhere in there. All right. So what I like is my two little favorite girls. Oh, yeah. You can call me. I was going to choose Poppy, but I didn't want any inference to the Red Sox, so I had to steer away from that. Even though I am suffering with the Yankees thus far this season. So what I want to do is take a photo, right? Because I won't get this opportunity again. Because you won't see me wearing this T-shirt a lot in church, all right? Layla definitely goes in the right arm. Oh, my two favorite little girls. Yeah. Say hi, everybody. Lots of kicking of feet. You are with Papa today. They are totally underwhelmed, aren't they? All right. Oh, I love you both so much. Who goes where? Yeah. Okay, can I have my shirt back, please? Should I leave this out? All right. Okay, great. So thanks for coming out today, everybody. It's time to go home now. I just wanted you to see the T-shirt. That's all. We just brought you out for that. We want to apologize for having to cancel the picnic, but at some point, just a decision has to be made, whether it's by an umpire or a referee or a league or a pastor or whomever. And, let's just say I lost sleep over this before we came to a decision. And when we were kind of scanning 7 different forecasts, and they're all roughly saying the same thing, and the worst part about it was, according to them, as the day went on, it got worse and worse and worse. And it started getting really dicey at the time that we would have been going to the picnic. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that there were thunderstorms with potential lightning involved. Number 3, had we not canceled and still got washed out, we would have been poor stewards in that it would have cost us another $700 to prove nothing, other than we don't cancel. So because we'd rather be good stewards and keep everybody safe and just believe God for another day, that it is what it is. So I apologize for that. And I also want to apologize for whatever ministries may not be totally up and functioning today, including the children's church, so I apologize for that. And I don't need any comments from that row over there. No, you're all right, brother. I'm just kidding. Oh, I love it. It's okay. Honestly, we haven't canceled a picnic in like 20 years. So I'm going to take the lumps for this. We got caught off guard. We didn't have a full plan B in place, so I'm going to take responsibility for that, but I promise you it won't happen again. So, sorry. We understand that some folks maybe didn't come today because we didn't have Travel Care and Children's Church, and so I want to apologize to them. But it was just, we blew it, and we're human, we make mistakes, and that was one of these glitches that occur, right? You want to see a huge series of glitches? Look at our government. So things happen. The government is one big glitch with high points in between. Now, I want to share a joke with you to cap things off. Whew. By the way, I want to congratulate everyone that came out for the new members class on Friday night. Congratulations to you. We had a great time together. Always so nice to be able to spend that time together. And we had a great group. So the new pastor was visiting homes. He had just gotten transferred to this particular church, so he wanted to get to know people. He's visiting homes of the congregants. At one house, it seemed obvious that someone was home. He could see lights on, but no one came to answer his repeated knocks at the door. So he took out a card and he wrote Revelation 3:20 on the back of it, and he stuck it in the door. When the offering was processed the following Sunday, he found that his card had been returned and put in the offering basket. Added to it was this cryptic message, Genesis chapter 3 and verse 10. Well, reaching for his Bible to check out that scripture reference, he broke up in laughter completely. Remember, the note that he wrote was Revelation 3:20, and it says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." But Genesis chapter 3 and verse 10, the response to him was, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, for I was naked." So, and he said, "Woo!" Whew. What if she thought it was her daughter or something and said, "Come on in"? Oh, I could tell you a story, but I won't. I just won't. Okay, here we go. Let's go on our outlines this morning. We're going to finish up this series reflecting on the importance of a faithful life. You remember the points that we've been making and emphasizing and re-emphasizing was in order for the next generation to carry the torch of the gospel, two things have to happen. One, the previous generation has to be faithful to the call. And two, there has to be an impartation of the passion and the message to that generation, or they won't know what to run with. And if they don't have the passion, they will burn out and not have the desire to run, and they'll just become a dead denomination. How many of you would agree with that? If you are a parent of a child or children this morning, my question to you is, are you taking time to impart the truth of God's word to your child or children? Secondly, are you living passionately for the Lord? Because passion is contagious, just like deadness is. Hello? Come on. Passion is contagious. That's why churches that are dead and sedate, usually they have a dead and sedate pastor that somehow is still upright. And so it's important because passion is contagious. Passion from a leadership or a place of authority kind of creates a charge in the atmosphere, and it brings everybody else to a higher level of commitment and devotion, and their fires burn more brightly. Now, you remember the story. If you've been around for a length of time, I found this story, but it was a true account taken in the early part of the 20th century from, at that point, big game hunters that would go into various parts of Africa and hunt big game when it was still legal and all this kind of stuff. And so they kept some accounts in their diary concerning their journeys and the nuances and the dangers and the thrills and all this kind of stuff. And one of the things that was written in the diary of a very famous hunter at the time kind of went like this. He said, the last thing that we would do each night, knowing that we were in a very, very dangerous place in terms of predatory animals, we were in their turf. And so it was a very dangerous place to be. And the last thing we would do at night is kind of put our tents in a circle, and then we would create a big bonfire, and we would let the bonfire be huge, and then we would quickly go to sleep and try and get up as early as we could in the morning. And so what they discovered was, as the bonfire would kind of lose its intensity over the course of those sleeping hours, one man wrote it this way: and as dawn slowly began to break, and the bonfire, listen, when the fire got low, all we could see were the green eyes of approaching animals and predators. So you see the principle? If our fires grow low, the enemy will come. If your fire gets low, you will see the eyes of approaching predators. That's why Peter said we better be sober-minded and vigilant, because our adversary, the devil, prowls about our life looking for that opening, because he's seeking somebody to devour. Are you with me? And I want you to picture yourself on that hunting safari. And if your fire starts to go down, the predators around your life lose their fear. That's why a passionless Christian is no threat to the devil. You can own a Bible and be as dead as sawdust. But I know God's word. God's word without the life behind it is just words. You don't have passion, you won't have the anointing. And you'll wind up living this cerebral Christianity, talking about God. And let's dissect all these nuances of the scripture. Wait, hold on. Where is the life of the Spirit? Where's the rivers of living water? Where's the fire of God? So it's important that if you're a parent this morning, you have to put yourself in the same position, so to speak, as I'm in, or any of our other leaders in, my wife is in. What starts at the head runs down to the feet. Remember that principle. What starts at the head runs down to the feet. And so it's important. If something good is coming from the head who's ever in authority or in charge, good things will generally happen all the way down the line. But when something is out of whack on top, it will actually not only go down, but it gets magnified and worse at the bottom. Remember this principle that if you take 2 points, let's say 2 laser beams, and you start at one wall, let's say in a room like this, if you start at this wall and 2 laser beams that should have been parallel, but one of them is off just 2 degrees. You understand that over the length of time and distance, the space between the 2 lines gets greater. So if our lives are out of whack and out of sync with God's Word, if we are not running in sync with the Holy Spirit, guess what's going to happen? That 1 or 2 degrees may not even be noticeable for the first period of time, but you give it time and you wonder, well, how did that happen to that person? I'll tell you how. Let's go back to where the thing went wrong. They let something into their life, and it's usually thinking about letting their minds dwell on the wrong things. Because actions are always preceded by thoughts. Thoughts that are germinated, put in the oven, baked, will result in actions. Actions just don't occur by themselves. So it's important that, having said all that, it's important for us to loop it into what we're talking about this morning, in that faithfulness will never be accidental. Faithfulness will never be accidental. Growth is never accidental. There has to be an intentionality behind things that are positive. There doesn't have to be an intentionality about things that are negative. In that, you can just be negligent about all the things that you should be doing, and bad things will automatically happen. Hello? So we've got to make a choice every new day. That as for me and my house, notice what Joshua said. He didn't start with his house, didn't start with his servants, didn't start with his children, didn't start with his house cat. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And what did he lay on those other cats around him? If it seems right to you to serve the devil, to serve dead idols, to serve your tradition of your grandfathers that were nothing but demonic, then knock yourself out. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the true and living God. You see what Joshua was laying on them? That growth is intentional, that doing the right thing, that serving the Lord has to come as a result of consistent series of choices. It's like being married. In that, you can't say, I love you once at that altar and then never say it again. Listen, this piece of gold slipped on someone's finger usually keeps nothing. This will not keep a person. Certainly not in this day and age. It's crazy. This will keep nothing. There was a time when this would keep people in the saddle, so to speak, and work things through. Now, why? Because the spirit of this age is so rebellious and so self-absorbed that if something isn't pleasurable and doesn't stroke me the right way and doesn't do that, I'm out of here. It's bad news. It's hurting our nation desperately. And so we've got to be doing the right thing as God's people. We have to be focused on the right thing. Because Paul said it this way in 1 Timothy 3. He said, the church is the pillar and support of the truth in the earth. Not the government. The church is the pillar and support. The church is what holds up God's truth to a fallen, messed up society. So if the church doesn't hold it, who's going to hold it? So we got to make sure. We're not talking about being perfect, because we would all be out of the race at that point. But we're talking about striving toward the right end, correct? So let's read the top scripture and then we'll go right to the point. Paul said it this way when Paul, and if you read the fourth chapter of 2 Timothy, Paul was ready to be beheaded. He knew his time was over. He knew his life was going to come to an end, and he was not going to get out of this prison that he was in. He knew that. And if you were going to write something that was going to be one of the final statements that you would ever make, particularly to your son in the faith that you love dearly, what would those final closing statements be? Make sure you hold on to your 401k. Give me a break. No, here's what he says. He said, "My dear son in the faith, Timothy, I'm so proud of you. I've seen you grown into a man of God over the years. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for allowing yourself to be mentored and shaped by my hand. And I'm grateful to the Lord for having used me to that end. But your race is not over. Unfortunately, I want to let you know that my race is over. So I want to close my life out with you until we get to glory together with these words." And here's what he writes. "In the presence of God and Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and the dead, I give you this final charge. Preach the word, be prepared." I know the King James says be instant. It means to be prepared, be ready. "Well, I haven't gotten a chance to study." So what? Either the word's in you or it's not. That's what he's talking about. Always be ready to minister. "Be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come." Now get this. See what he's telling him on the front end is make sure you're teaching and training people well. Make sure you're keeping your life and testimony tight. Make sure that you're being vigilant and diligent about the right things, because I see prophetically that the time will come when people will not any longer want to put up with sound doctrine. And now let me tell you, we are here. I have never seen as much deception in what calls itself the church as I see now. Never. Absolute deception, absolute rebellion, and I believe it is absolutely in line with what Paul talks about, the great falling away, the great apostasy of the final day before Jesus comes. I believe it's absolutely linked directly. For the time will come when people will not want to put up with sound doctrine. Well, if they don't want to put up with sound doctrine, then what is it that they want? They want preachers to entertain them. They want preachers to be politically correct instead of biblically true. They want to be entertained. They want to be stroked. They don't want the truth to be given. They don't want to be challenged by God's word. They don't want to have to be told, you got to straighten out. Yeah, but, society says, who cares what society says? Take a look at society. They're a mess. You want to follow what's a mess? No, then why do you care what they say or what the current trend is? God's word is absolutely clear and unchanging. And Peter said that, 2 Peter 3, that people over the course of time, some people will take the scriptures and distort them and twist them, Peter said, to make the Bible say things that it doesn't really say, and in doing so, they will do it to their own destruction. That's happening now. Well, show me where the Bible says I can't be transgender. Well, show me where the Bible says I can't smoke weed. Well, show me where the Bible... Look, you know what they're looking for? An excuse for their sin. They just want any kind of out, any kind of cloak for sin and rebellion. And for some of those people, we will take the time to show them. In other cases, nope, because you're not asking from a truthful heart. And you're not going to waste our time. We're not going to cast our pearls before swine. Go to your own destruction. The Bible's clear. And we are not going to tell you something other than what the Bible says. You take matters into your own hands, you will stand in that judgment. For the time will come when people won't want to put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn away their ears from the truth and turn aside to myths and fables. But you, Timothy, keep your head in all situations. Keep your head clear. Stay focused. Stay strong. Endure hardship. Do the work of an evangelist. Discharge all the duties of your ministry. For I am already, and Paul said, because that's what I've done, and now it's over for me. I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time of my departure is near. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I have kept the faith. And now there is in store for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. What day? When my time on earth is finished and I open my eyes and now I'm in glory standing before him to have my life evaluated. And not only to me will he give this crown of righteousness, but also he'd give him to all who love his appearing. Isn't that great? Okay, so here we go. Let's quickly recap the points. We're talking about the founding of America and how people from the time of Jesus until now carrying the torch of the gospel being in our hands now, had to be necessitated by somebody having been faithful for centuries and centuries and centuries. In fact, millennia. And now here we are. The question that we've got to grapple with is, will we live in such a way that we will have a solid gospel and a passionate gospel and a clear torch to give to our children and grandchildren, that unless Jesus comes back sooner, they've got to run to the next generation and serve their generation by the will of God. So here we go. Let's go to Roman numeral 2 on your notes. Why faithfulness is a crucial part of the Christian walk. And you see these two scriptures here. David said, "Since my youth, O God, you have taught me, and to this day I declare your marvelous deeds." To this day, he says, I've declared your marvelous deeds. Even when I'm old and gray, do not forsake me. In other words, give me strength till my final moment. Anoint me until my final moment. And keep doing that until I declare your power, your reality, your might to the next generation who are yet to come. Keep me strong until that day when I've reached all the people that I could possibly reach, and then it's over. And you see this next passage that I put on your notes was about the memorial stones, that when Joshua and his crew were crossing over the Jordan River, the Lord gave them an idea that because the Lord said to Joshua, choose 12 men from among the people, one from each tribe, and as you're going through, they've got to take a stone out from the Jordan River, and when they get to the other side of the river, they got to formulate a memorial, pile those stones up. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Let's go to the bottom that I've underscored for you. Now look what he says. He said, this is going to serve as a sign not only among you, but further. He said, in the future, when your children ask you, Daddy, why do we go to church? Why is it important that we serve the Lord? Why do we do devotions every day? Why should we pray? My friend said there is no God. Should I believe that or should I believe the Bible? Why? You said, well, I don't see that on here. That's all woven into the thought. Because your children are going to ask you, what do these stones mean? And he says, and when they ask you, tell them that the flow of the Jordan was miraculously cut off before the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. And when it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. They were kind of did a Red Sea deal. And these stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel for how long? Forever. That means God was already entrusting his miracle to subsequent generations, and who bore the responsibility for the multiple generations, the generation to whom the miracle was done. Hello? The generation that saw the Jordan River open held the accountability for what was going to be transferred and having an impact on multiple generations, even to today. So we're talking about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. this was commanded. Can you see how your life can make an impact that can blow your mind? Stop viewing yourself by the flesh. Stop viewing others by the flesh. It's not about you and how sharp you are or I am. It's about our willingness to stay aligned with living the right way so that the Lord can work through us. It's not about us. Well, I don't have that much education. So what? It's about God working through you. If he said education was the total answer, then guess what? Only a certain percentage of people would ever be used in the kingdom of God, and everybody else would be dead wood. When instead, Peter said, we are all a kingdom of priests and a holy nation before the Lord. And we all have roles every joint must supply in order for the body of Christ to grow in a healthy and strong manner. In other words, the kingdom of God is incomplete without you doing your part. I'll say it again. The kingdom of God is incomplete without you doing your part. The world will not be impacted properly as God would have it without you doing your part. There'll be a void in terms of the purpose of God if you don't rise up and do your part. Doing your part will never be accidental, always intentional. That's why Joshua said, choose, 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 because according to that choice will be the substance and future of your life. Here we go. Let's go to Roman numeral 3 now. We're talking about the founding of America and how, if the founding fathers, were they Christians? And if so, where were they coming from? Did God direct the founding of America? How did he direct the men and women of God that were involved in this? Were they Christians? Were being sold this rotten bill of goods that they were all secularists, and they always had a vision that America was to be a secular nation just because they wanted religious freedom. That is a pack of lies. So let's go to number 1. 3 indisputable facts about America's real roots. Number 1, America was settled by people looking for religious freedom. We've already talked about that. Let's go to number 2. And folks, if you're here for the first time, we have previous CDs in this series. I would strongly encourage you to get those things and get this stuff into your heart, because we have a rich and true Christian heritage in America. Not secular, especially the trash that's there today in our government, but Christian. Amen. And say, well, Islam wasn't around then. Oh, yes, it was. Islam was around for 1,000 years before the founding of America. So was Buddhism, so was Hinduism. But guess what? We were a Christian nation. Now, did they have in mind that only Christians could ever come to America? That only Christians? No. Because if that were the case, then anyone who was a heathen, and there were plenty of them, they would have packed on boats and sent them back to where they came from. But having said that, what they did have in mind was, this message. If you're going to come to America, just remember this. We are unashamedly, unapologetically a Christian nation. If you don't like it, stay where you are. And do yourself and us a huge favor. But don't come running your mouth trying to lay this stuff on us as though every other religious approach carries equal weight and has to get equal press. It's pathetic and disgusting when I see Hallmark calendars now with Muslim holidays in there. Our founding fathers would roll over in their grave. That's nothing but a secular takeover of a Christian nation. So thank your liberal politicians, and God help you if you vote for them. Just because they make you a bunch of shallow promises. Because they'll give you the promises, all right, but it's the arsenic on the back end that'll destroy you and your grandchildren in terms of the gospel. Like rat poison, 98% grain, 2% arsenic. That's why Jesus said even in his day, Be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees. A little leaven leavens a whole lump. And our government should be ashamed to be going to Muslim nations apologizing for America's Christian heritage. Absolutely despicable and shameful. There it is. I said it. Tough. And it grieves the heart of God because God was involved. Jesus was involved miraculously in the founding of America. You want to see a fascinating book, if you haven't already read it, The Light and the Glory. Read The Light and the Glory by Peter Marshall. I'll say it again. The Light and the Glory, written by Peter Marshall. And you'll just see how miraculously the Holy Spirit was involved in the discovery and founding of what we know to be America. We're not here by accident. We've been given a divine mandate as a nation. Well, why do you think we've been blessed beyond what any nation on planet Earth has ever known or seen? Not because we're all that. It's because He is. And to this point, we've done our best as a church to stay in line with Him. And now, from the government down, everybody's snubbing God and sticking their finger in His eye. So we better be careful, very careful. That's why as a church, we got to make sure that we are staying passionate for the gospel, because when this thing all comes down, people are going to be running for the church. So look what happened right after 9/11. Every church full. Prayer meetings everywhere. Oh, 4 months go by. This ain't so bad. Oh, come on, I'll meet you at the pub. So, number one, America was settled by people looking for religious freedom. Number two, our founding fathers had a strong desire to be pleasing to God and to do His will. And look at what I've put on your notes. Look at that study by the University of Houston, et cetera, et cetera. Political science professors, nonetheless. All right, and now let's go to number three. We're going to close with this morning. Number three, America was founded by men and women who acknowledge God's supreme rule over men, kings, and nations. Our founding fathers acknowledged publicly and in writing and in the documents of our nation that God reigns supreme over men, kings, and nations. That's the third thing that's right with America. Our founding fathers realized that. They realized that God reigns supreme. He is the final say, and we need to stay in line with what He's trying to do. Listen, you know the most amazing thing is that they were not all devout Christians. But yet at the same time, they still acknowledge this reality. Go figure. That's why when I was a kid, a lot of people who weren't Christians still generally held to the fact that some things were just right and some things are just wrong. Now, why? Because through liberalism and secularization, there's been a war on absolute truth. If you think that that's just a political, secular, or sociological truth, understand that this is absolute truth. So anytime someone wants to take a sociological or secular or political approach to we're going to eradicate absolute truth, you better bank on the fact that it's going to find an end. And it's going to come in direct confrontation with the only people that say we hold divine absolute truth. So in other words, this whole liberal approach is ultimately the long-term approach of this from the devil's standpoint is to silence the church. Why do you think in England and in Canada, they're both proposing legislation now that if any preacher even speaks against transgenderism, being right, wrong, moral, immoral, they can go to prison. So you see what I'm saying? It's not just a political approach, it's to silence absolute truth. Which is to say, it's a war on the Bible. So you better know what's going on and get your head out of the sand. because children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, should Jesus tarry, that will pay the price of this if we're not sharp and alert and awake and doing what we're supposed to do. Here we go. So God is sovereign over men and nations. Now, look on your notes there, a direct excerpt from the Declaration of Independence. And what does it say? It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident. In other words, that everyone should realize this already, but we're going to write it down for posterity's sake. That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator, not their monkey ancestor, not Coco the monkey. They're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these rights are life, liberty, and entitlement. No, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The government never said, we're going to make you happy because we're Big Brother. It's our job to make you happy and make you well-adjusted. No, you get an opportunity to pursue happiness in freedom if you're willing to work for it. Oops. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That the government exists just to secure people the possibility of pursuing a happy life, not to guarantee a happy life. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, quote, here's what they're saying now as their statement of assembly, quote, appealing to the supreme judge of the world. And God help us, it's not the Supreme Court. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. In case you didn't know, that's God. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. In other words, they made a covenant with God and they made a covenant with one another that we're in this together. Now, who cares? Give me what's mine. I don't care if we bankrupt the nation. Whole different spirit, isn't it? Now, they were saying we want a form of government that God, to protect that which God has given us. And what's interesting is that while they're doing this, there was a painting of the First Continental Congress. Anybody ever seen that painting? The First Continental Congress, when they're all getting together and they're writing stuff, and they're trying to arrive at what the mind of God is for America in terms of writing down some things. And they were deadlocked. As Congress normally is, they were deadlocked on some issues. They were discussing and debating. You know what they were discussing and debating? The correct wording that would make everybody happy concerning the Declaration of Independence. And because they were deadlocked, they didn't just filibuster each other. Here's what they did. They got on their knees and they all sought God. And when they did, it was recorded down by an artist. And now it's a very famous painting and, of course, lithograph. And 55 signers of the Declaration of Independence went to their knees and began to pray and seek the wisdom of the living God. Matter of fact, John Adams, having been there and witnessed such a profound move of God right in Congress, wrote to his wife Abigail about the meeting that he was in, and he wrote this, quote, the most amazing thing that I've ever seen has just occurred. Even the stern old Quakers had tears gushing down their cheeks at the presence of God. Just like our Congress today. Okay. 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 Okay.